morning, good evening, and good afternoon for those who are joining us from other time zones. Um, Welcome to this session. I'm Clifton and I'm joined by my colleagues Frederick and Gert, and together we are the Belgian Power Apps and Flow user group. So we started this group actually in 2018 and we've grown to approximately 250 plus members. Our main goal is promoting the adoption of the Microsoft Power Platform. We are mostly focused on the non-BI components of the Microsoft Power Platform and their interaction with the surrounding ecosystem. We organize events throughout the whole year. Sometimes we do it alone and sometimes we work closely with other user groups and associations. You can find us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. And if you'd like to know more about us, please feel free to take a look on our website, as you can see on the title page, www.bepafug.be. So, who is our speaker today? So today we are joined by none other than the great Paul Mater. I hope I say his surname correctly. Okay, so Mater is quite well known in the project, in the Microsoft project community. He's actually an MVP, a Microsoft project MVP, and the last years he's mainly focused on the integration with the Power Platform. So without further ado, let's give it to Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Clifton. Can everyone hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Brilliant. So yeah, so as Clifton mentioned, so what we'll be covering today is an introduction to Microsoft Project for the Web. So it's the new project application from Microsoft, and we'll take a look at how we can extend that capability using the Power Platform, so Power Apps, Flow, or Power Automate, and Power BI. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully that will come through. 2 seconds. All right, so hopefully you can see the slide deck. So
yes, we can. Yeah.
As Clifton mentioned, my name's Paul Mather. So I work for a company in the UK called Corporate Project Solutions. So we're a Microsoft Gold partner in various competencies, from Dynamics to content and collaboration with SharePoint, project and portfolios for projects, and various other competencies. I'm also a Microsoft Project MVP and have been since 2013. I regularly blog at the pwmather.wordpress.com, and that's all things related to Microsoft Project and supporting technologies. So that's anything from Project Online, Microsoft Project Desktop, and the new Project for the Web, as well as Power Apps and Power Automate. My contact details are up there, so please feel free to take note or follow me on Twitter, and do reach out if you've got any questions around either the session today or anything related to Microsoft Project. So what we're going to take a look at today is the out-of-the-box capability for the new Microsoft Project for the Web tool. So that was released towards the end of last year, actually. So it's been out now for a good sort of 10 months, probably. Now, this application is the new project management application from Microsoft Project. So Project Online is still around and still is a valid application, and you can still get Project Online today. But the new Project for the Web application is built on top of the Common Data Service for Apps, or CDS, or whatever the name might be in the future. It is a much more simplified application compared to Project Online. So those of you that are familiar with Project Online, it offers great capabilities for project management, but can be quite complex to get started. Whereas Project for the Web is low friction to get started, you're straight into the canvas, and you can easily create and manage projects. But because you're backed by the Power Platform, you've got great capabilities to enhance that functionality. Some of the key features when we think about Project for the Web compared to Project Online, it auto saves. So whereas previously within Project Online, you'd have to save that project manually, you'd have to also publish it. So if for example, you'd created some data within your project schedules or within the Project Online environment, to make that available to reports, you'd have to actually publish that data as well. All of that goes away with Project for the Web. It auto saves, and there is no concept of save and publish. It's just automatically available. There's also no check-in, check-out. So again, those of you that might have been familiar with using Project Online or Project Server before, to edit a project, you'd have to check the project out. And whilst you had that checked out, nobody else could edit that project. You couldn't edit it without having to check the project out. That is no longer the case. There is no concept of check in or check out within Project for the Web. With that capability, with the no need to check in, check out, we've also introduced the co-authoring. So now multiple people can edit the same project at the same time from either in the project Office UI that we can see a screenshot for, or in the model-driven apps that we'll see shortly. There's a simplified security model. So those that are familiar with Project Align before, it had a very granular and complex security model that did offer a lot of capabilities, but it was quite complicated, or is quite complicated, to configure and to get to grips with if you're not familiar with it. The security model in Project for the Web is simplified. It's all based on the Office 365 Group's security, which we'll take a look at. And the user interface, as we can see in the screenshot on the slide, it's a modern, engaging, responsive user interface. So if we think about how Project Online looks, some of the interface there is quite dated in comparison to what we have now in Project for the Web. So as mentioned, the Project for the Web is built on top of the CDS for apps. So we have all of the Power Platform capability easily available to us to extend the capabilities of Project for the Web. So it's Power BI, Power Apps, or Power Automate. And obviously making use of things like the AI Builder and other connections that we can bring in using the Power Platform. So bringing in integration to other business systems is a lot simpler now with Project for the Web compared to Project Online. So a brief overview of the Project for the Web environment. So we've got two entry points into Project for the Web. So we've got the default Project Office UI, which we'll take a look at first, but we've also get a default model-driven application as well, where we can still interact with that Project for the Web data. So both of those, you're using exactly the same task and project data, and we'll take a look at both of those. And all the data is stored into the common data service for apps. So when this solution is deployed into the environment, there's about 5 or 6 CDS entities that we can see on the screen that get deployed. So we've got the project entity that stores all the sort of project level metadata, the owner, the project name, etc., project IDs. We've got the project task entity, and that's where all the tasks data is stored for Project for the Web. And then we've got dependencies where we've got task links and things, and team members and buckets as well, because we've got board views, which we'll take a look at. And it also makes use of some of the other entities that were available for the project service automation with the resource assignments and bookable resource entities as well. So I've got this slide up as well, just because I've mentioned Project Online throughout the course of the session so far. As I say, Project Online hasn't gone away, but the two applications, Project for the Web and Project Online, can work side by side. So as we can see in this screenshot, we've got an application called Project Home, which we'll start off in shortly, and we can see all of our projects that we've recently accessed, whether that's a Project Online project or a Project for the Web project. Those all surfaced in Project Home. We've then got another application which we'll take a look at as well, Project Roadmap. Now that is an application to visualize certain key bits of information from either a Project Online project or a Project for the Web project, or actually Azure boards as well. So we can surface key tasks, key dates from various different types of projects in the Project Roadmap solution. And then we've got Power BI. So Power BI can report across both different applications to bridge the data together to bring that joined up data set. We've also got Project Desktop Client on the screenshot here. Now, Project Desktop Client will only connect to Project Online or Project Server. We can't currently today use the Project Desktop Client that you might be familiar with to open and edit and interact with the Project for the Web projects. So that's the end of the slide. So I wasn't going to go through too many slides today. So I'll cover the demo. So it'll be quite demo heavy in this session. So first off, let's start with the Project Home. So what we can see here, this is the Project Home that we've accessed, and it's just project.microsoft.com. Now this will show a collection of all of the latest projects that I've accessed. So as we can see here in this list, we've got two different types. We've got project and PWA project. So these are the project for the web projects that are in the CDS, and these are the project online projects that we might be familiar with if we used project online before. Now, if we want to create a new project, we can just go straight to the new blank project here, and we're straight away we're into the canvas. So this, we're in the project office UI. So first thing we need to do is give the project a name. So if we click Untitled Project, in this panel here, we can give the project a name. So let's just type out a name. Let's go with that. We'll leave the start date and the default settings, but we can change the start date, etc. as needed. So we close that. And let's just start adding some quick tasks. So let's go with the summary task, T1, T2, and 3. So let's quickly build out this schedule so we can start building some hierarchies and some child-parent relationships between these tasks. Now at this point, we've just got a very simple project plan, so I'm not going into the details here. But as you can see, we've got the default columns, so we've only got name assigned to and duration added to start with. We can add new columns in. So we're limited to the columns that we can add. They are predefined by Microsoft, but if we just add a few of these in, so let's add in start date, add in finish date, and we'll add in % complete. So the first thing I'm going to do is just start adding some duration. So let's say that this is 4 days, this one is 2 days, this one is 0 because it's a milestone, and this one is 3 days. So that's our simple schedule. The views that we've got here, if we change the ordering of the columns, that is all persistent. So next time I come into this project or somebody else opens a project, it will be persistently remembered. The same as if I collapse this summary task next time I come into that project. So if I've got a big schedule, it's quite handy if I've completed a section or a phase of the project, I can collapse it automatically to get better use of the screen. We've got different views within here as well. So we're currently on the grid view. We've got the board view. So here, those of you that are familiar with Planner. So with Planner, we've got great capability for task management, but there's some not missing features, because Planner does a great job at managing tasks, but it doesn't do the project management side of things with the sort of Gantt views and task links and relationships. So that's where Project for the Web comes in. But we do have some of that Planner capability with the boards here. So if we add another bucket, let's just go bucket 2. And we can start dragging the tasks over as we can with the Planner board. We've got different views here, so we're looking at by bucket there, but we could look at it by progress. Currently, none of these are started, but if I move task 1 into in progress, that will automatically mark that as 50% complete. If I move it into completed, it'll mark it as 100% complete and complete the task. I'm just going to move that back though. And then we've also got by finish date, so we can see which tasks are due first, so we can see which needs our attention. And then we've also got the timeline view. So this is my favorite view. It's interactive here. So what we can see, we can drag out the durations of tasks, we can increase the durations if needed. We can also do the linking between tasks. So we see we've got this anchor here. If I grab that, I can then link to that task to create the relationship between T1 and T2. I'm going to link to the milestone as well, and then I'm going to link to that task there. We've also got the information panel, or the task panel. So in all of the views, we can click on the task and get some more information around the task. So task 1, we can add, this is a test note, so we can start adding notes within the application. We can start assigning people. So let's assign the mod administrator here. Because I'm the owner of the project and I've created it, I'm available to be assigned straight away 2 tasks. But if I want to add somebody else, so let's start typing another user in this demo tenant. Let's add Adele. Now at this point, this is where the Office 365 groups comes into play, and we can start adding that security. So we can either create a new group, and it will be based on the project name that we've created, or we can add it to an existing group if we wanted to. I'm going to go with just adding it to a new group for now. So now that this project is linked to the Office 365 group, and I can start inviting other users to it. So if I add another user, so at this point, it won't prompt me to link it to a group, but it will actually kind of warn me that assigning this user to the project will grant them access to the underlying Microsoft team. So if we assign and add, so we've got a very simple plan here with some users assigned to our tasks. Now to complete the tasks, if this one is complete, I can just check the checkbox and that will mark that as 100% complete. Or I can just come into here and I can just start typing let's say it's 25% complete. So that's a way we can progress, or we can also use the board view that we saw previously. So we can move this one, say that is done as well. So that's a very quick intro to the Project Office UI interface there. What we can also do is copy projects. So we might have built out a schedule that can be reused. We might have similar projects that are repeated. So what we can do there is actually create copies of the project. So if I create a copy of that, and what that's done, it's taken a copy of the task that I've got and just added -copy to the end of the project name, but this is actually a new project. It's copied the buckets, but it hasn't copied the resources. It hasn't linked it to the underlying Office 365 group and Microsoft Teams. So it is a new project. So that's the Project Office UI. So real quick intro there. But what we've also got is the default model-driven interface. And I'm just going to switch to a different environment to show you some of that capability. So here we're already looking at this example project application that we've got. So this is available to everyone with Project for the Web. So it's just projects it's called. And here we've got a list of the active projects I've currently got access to. So I've only got one grouping or two groupings, projects and resources here with a sub area of projects. So if we have a look at what an example project looks like through the default model-driven experience. So here we've got some very high-level summary information, and that is it that you get out of the box. So the owner and the template that's used for the calendar for the working time and the owner. But if we click on the Tasks tab, what we'll see here when this loads is we've got exactly the same experience that we just saw. Obviously, this is a different project, but the same experience that we just saw in the Project Office UI. But this time we're in an iframe within the model-driven experience, whereas before we're obviously in the full page. But we have exactly the same capability. So I can add columns in here. If I want to, I can complete the tasks. I can go to the board views. I can start moving tasks around. I create a new bucket. Bucket 2. So we can start moving the projects and tasks exactly as we could within the full experience within the Project Office UI. And we've got the same timeline view as well. So it's exactly the same capability, but embedded within the model-driven experience. We've also got this Open in Project button up here. Now, if we click that, that will actually go and open the project straight into the full page experience as well. So they're the two default entry points we've got into the Project for the Web default data. Now, Project for the Web is deployed to the environment via the CDS. So if we have a look at the Power App solution, so here I've already just loaded the solutions on this particular environment and filtered to project. So if we have a look at one of these, we can see it is a managed solution, not that one. So we go back, let's have a look at project. So we can see there's lots of components, as you can imagine, that make up a project for the web. So we've got all of the web resources, plugins, etc., validation, events, and things like that. All of the entities that we can see here as well. And that is all fully managed by Microsoft and deployed to your environment. And that would give you the capability we've just looked at, either the Office UI full page experience or the model-driven experience there. So if we take a look at just an example project entity. So this is the out-the-box project entity. So we can see here we've got various default fields from the % complete to the project manager, status, the start date, end dates. So they're all of the default fields that get added to this entity. And I say this is all fully managed by Microsoft. So now what I want to do is actually jump into the other application that we've got that we'll have a quick look at is the Roadmap application. So if we drop back into here, so Roadmap was an application that was released a couple of years ago, actually, and that is built on top of the CDS as well. So there's different entities that store all the Roadmap data. And if we have a look at this roadmap that I've created earlier, what we can see here, if I find the tasks, so it allows us to create this sort of like swim lane type overview of a particular group of projects. So it could be for a new program that you're developing. It could be a new application you're developing where you've got several projects that are contributing to the delivery of that particular application. You might be doing some software development using Azure boards and tracking the work items there, and you might want to see some of the key tasks and key dates in this view. You might be doing the project management side of things in either Project Online or Project for the Web, and bring it all together in one view for your stakeholders to get a good overview of everything. So here we've got some example projects. So here we've actually got, this one is a Project for the Web project, so we can open up that. We've got various other projects. So we've got Project for the Web there, we've got Project Online project here, and we can open up these and go straight into, this will go into Project Online, the old experience that we're familiar with. Now, to add a new project into the roadmap, all we have to do is add row. I'm going to call it demo project, and I'm going to own it. And then when we connect to projects, we can see here we can either connect to project, which will give us the option to connect to either a Project Online project or a Project for the Web project, or we can connect to Azure boards. But for now, I'm just going to connect to project. Now, this gives us the similar list that we see when we're looking at Project Home, where we saw those most recently accessed projects. We can see those here. So I'm going to select this project to start with. Now, what this will do, this actually uses Power Automate behind the scenes to keep the data in sync between Project Online, Project for the Web, and Azure boards into the entities used by the roadmap. So here we have to just allow the permissions, and we can click Connect. And that will go and create the connection, and that will actually create a flow within your Power Automate environment to keep it in sync. Now, the first thing we do is decide which items we want to plot on this roadmap. So if we say, I'm just going to add them all actually for now, and click Add. And now we can see that that has added those tasks in that we quickly created earlier for this. And then we can start setting statuses for these. So let's just say that, yeah, this is on track. So we can start visualizing when things might be at risk and highlighting certain bits of information. We can also add key dates on here. So we've got a review date up here. We just add another key date, key 2, and let's set it to today's date. So that's a nice way to bring some of that data together between Project for the Web from the CDS data, Project Online data from SharePoint, and Azure boards from Azure DevOps. And all of this, as I say, roadmap data is also stored in entities within the CDS. So that's roadmap. So now what I want to show you is to walk through an example model-driven app that I've built as part of a blog series, as part of my blog that I've got, where I've looked at various different capabilities within the Power Apps platform to enhance the capability for Project for the Web. So first off, we're here onto the landing page. So this is just a real quick example of building a landing page. So this I've just used for navigational purposes, so I can access certain areas into my app. So I've got a link here to the programs, I've got a link here to the risks, but we can use that to build, it could be links to work instructions on how your business or organization wants to do risk management, or any documents you've got to support how the project management process works within your organization. So that's just a simple example here. But if we drop into programs here, so we've got a program entity, and this includes some roll-up data from the projects entity as well. So what we'll do is we'll walk through this with an example project that I've already created that's got some data, and then we'll come back and pick up the new demo project I've created and walk through some of these capabilities. So if we have a look at the IT program here, so we can see we've got various bits of metadata around the actual IT change program. We've got some roll-up information here. So this program cost, there's a cost field against the projects as well. And then all of the projects that are related to the IT program, we've got that information rolling up to the program level, and that runs on the 12 or 24-hour schedule. We can force it on demand, but currently that's set to the every 24 hours to roll up and aggregate. We've then got various calculated fields. So we're calculating the remaining budget, so from the cost and the budget that we've specified. Then we've also got all of the projects that are related to this particular program here. So here we've got a mobile app that we'll have a look at. We'll come into that particular project in a moment. But one other thing, we've also got Power BI embedded in here as well. So this will actually be pre-filtered to our IT change program. So don't have to do any filtering. It's already passed through within this form with the parameters passed in. So if we just take a step back and access the business transformation program, just as an example, and click on report, we'll then see that that is actually linked to the business transformation Power BI report as well. Let's just go back to our IT and we'll pick up our mobile app that I just want to walk through. So here, so this looks obviously a bit different to the out-the-box model-driven app for Project for the Web, because we've got some added entities into here, added related entities, as well as adding additional fields. So we've got also a business process flow that we can see along the top. So we start managing the life cycle of projects as well. So at the minute, this one's currently in the planning review stage and has been for 4 months. So I need to crack on with this. We've also got the ability to have certain required fields based on the value. So what we'll see shortly when we look at the new demo project, this estimated cost, if that's below 30,000, then cost justification isn't required. But because for this project it's set to 35,000, that field's then required. This business process flow is also dynamic based on this project type. So for a complex project, we have an additional planning review stage that I'll show you when we look at the new project that we'll walk through. Then we've got our tasks that we're familiar with the project UI experience there, so fully interactive as before. We're also capturing some of the stage comments as we move through this process. We've got issue management as well, so here we can create issues. So if we add a new issue, I'm just going to call it test issue. Let's do that. Save and close. We can have full issue management within this application. We've also got risks as well, so we can do risk management. So here, similar to the issues, risk, but we've got some different components here, so we can use some sliders to interact with some of those field values. So as we save and close that, we've also got a risk to issue escalation process that I will show you shortly. And then we've got status updates. So here we provide the capability for the project owner, the project stakeholders, anybody you like, to provide a status update. And that could be just a quick update, whether it's weekly, monthly, just to let them know how they think the project's going. And we've also got some sentiment analysis running, so we can see how positive the comments are. So over time, we can start building up a history of how positive the stakeholders' impressions are on the project, and we can start exploring some of that data. So we can see here that we've got some positive comments and this one not so positive, but I'll show you that in action shortly. And then we've got the whole overview of all of the issues, risks. Also got some charts here available for the risks as well. So we've got some using some of the inbuilt charts that we've got within the Power Apps platform. Same for programs as well. We've got some charts. Programs here. We've got the charts capability built into this one with some different charts available and some of the dashboards that we've got. We've also got some dashboards added using the out-the-box dashboards available in the model-driven experience. We can see some of that information in a page. And we've also got the full Power BI report that I've got available that's embedded into this application here. So we can fully use that experience within here. Whereas before on the program, it's just pre-filtered to the IT change or the business transformation, whichever particular program you're looking at. This one we're looking at all, and we can filter using the normal slicers within Power BI. So let's go back to projects here and pick up our new project that we created and just start running through this application. So we can give it a description. We can link it to a program. Let's link it to our IT change program. Now the project type. So if you notice here, we've got initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and project closure. If I change this to simple, it still stays the same. If I put it to complex, we can see that we get an additional planning review stage in. So we've got a separate gate in there. Just for a complex project, we might want some additional review or input from somebody else within the organization. Let's put that back to simple. This estimated cost. So currently this cost justification isn't required. But if I put this to 25,000, it's not required. But as soon as I put it to over 30,000, then this field is required and I have to justify the cost. Just put that there. We've got some RAG information, so let's set that. I'm just going to save the project. And then we can see the task that we created before within this experience here. Let's move this through the various stages. So let's say project is set up. I'm just going to process this through. So now we're into the next stage. What we've also got in this application is snapshots. So what a lot of organizations like to do for the data within projects is have a history or a snapshot. So what that project looks like over time or at certain gates. So behind the scenes, we've got some Power Automate flows running. Whenever the project is modified, we snapshot the data, but we've also got the ability to create a snapshot of the data on the business process flow here. So we can see we've got this create snapshot run flow. When I click that, that will then trigger another Power Automate flow behind the scenes to also go and take a snapshot, and it will reference the stage that it was taken at. So we can then start building up reports and see over time how this project has changed based on the stage process. So we go into issues. We can create the issues as we could before, but let's take a look at the risks. So let's create a new risk. I'm just going to create a risk 1 and call it risk. Due date, let's say it's due today. I'm going to say probability and impact at 10. Exposure is calculated and it's currently open. So if I just save and close that. So we've got our one risk with an exposure of 100 on there. But this risk might have actually turned into an issue. So rather than having to manually copy some of that data over into the issue entity, we've got the ability to actually escalate that into the issue. So here we've got this escalation tab. So escalate to issue, if I hit that as yes, and then save and close, that will actually trigger a Power Automate flow behind the scenes to go and escalate that risk. So if we refresh that, and hopefully the flow would have run. So yes, it has run because we can see that it's got an escalated date set. And if we have a look at this risk, it's actually set the status to closed automatically as well as part of that Power Automate flow. Now, if we click on the issues tab here, with any luck, we see our new risk or issue item that has been copied across. So it's got some of that data that was copied across that we've mapped over in the Power Automate flow. So we've brought the description over, we've brought the title over, and we've set the status to open on there. And if we have a look at this view, we can then link back to the originating risk as well. So we can see quite easily where this issue has originated from. So let's go on to the status updates. So this is where we've mentioned that we can have the stakeholders submitting weekly updates. Let's go weekly update 1. And I'm just going to put a positive comment here. This project is going great. If I save and close that, give it a moment for the Power Automate to kick in. But in the meantime, I'll go and create another one with a negative comment, weekly update 2. Major issues. Let's leave it at that and see what the score is when that processes. So we can see the first one has processed and has given us a sentiment analysis score of 83. And if we just refresh this one is not so great because it's got major issues. So we can see that actually this has only got a positivity score of 2. So we can see over time, we can start building up that picture to see what the view was for the project. And we can start interrogating that data to see, well, okay, well, in week 2, what happened to the project? Was there a major risk? Was there an issue? What happened? So we've got that history that's building up over time. What we can also do is we've got the ability to generate status reports out of the box. So if I just click on the word templates here, I've got a status report that I've generated. And let's open this one up. So then here on a page, without having to do anything, I've got all of my project details onto a Word document that I can either PDF or send round to stakeholders, anyone else who needs to see information for this particular project. So we've got some project summary information, we've got some of the task information here, we've got the issues, the risks, and those status updates as well. Obviously, the template isn't very attractive, but it's just the minimum out of the box that I included in my blog. But obviously, with it being a Word template, we can do all sorts of nice things with that template to jazz it up a bit. So that's the Word templates. So that's the out the box or the enhanced capability that I've got within this application. So these are just to really show examples of what we can do, all with no code, low code. So I've not had to write any code for this, with the exception to the landing page, which was just a simple bit of HTML and CSS in there to bring that together. But all of the rest of it is purely through configuration through the Power Platform. Then, so what I want to move on to now is to take a look at the Teams integration. So we can integrate into Teams, and then if we've got time, we'll take a look at some of those flows that we're using behind the scenes as well. So first off, let's have a look at this team. Let's just refresh this one. So here we've got our PMO team, and we've just got an IT projects channel, and I've added the Exchange migration project within the Teams client. So here I can fully interact with this project like I could before in the various other views. So we can say by progress, and we can fully move these over and interact with the project. One thing to note, when you do add a project for the web into the team, it is just a website tab. So if we go into the settings, so we've got the full URL here, and we can just copy that from the URL bar when we're in project for the web. But one thing worth noting is we've got this additional query string on the end. So you can see here, we've got the ampersand dynamics UI equals true. Now what that does, that will then give you a better embedded Teams experience, because we don't have any of the other Chrome around the project for the web experience. So we don't have any of the Office 365 nav. We don't have this side panel. We've literally just got the project embedded. So we can see here it's embedded, just like it is in the model-driven app. So that is quite a key query string to use if you want the good embedded experience into Microsoft Teams. Then we've also got the same with roadmaps. So we've also got this roadmap embedded here. So we can see this is the roadmap that we looked at earlier as well. Now if we scroll down, we can see that. And exactly the same as what we did with the project for the web. It is just a website tab, and it is the same query string that you can add in there to get the better embedded experience. So then we've also got a monitoring channel here. So we've also got a Power Automate flow behind the scenes that's querying the data in the CDS to generate some warnings around overdue projects. So we're using the adaptive cards here, so we can see that this flow is running weekly, and we've got a few projects that are well overdue. This Blazor project is 180 days overdue, and we can see have a direct link straight to that project and go in to access that. So that's a very simple example for monitoring and some very basic adaptive cards, as you can see, but there is a lot more that we can do with those. But it's just a nice way to send people prompts for things that they need to action. And then we've also got another experience with the Power BI report embedded in the team. So we've got the ability to surface those Power BI reports either in the Teams, in the native apps, pre-filtered on the model-driven forms. So we can easily get the right information to the right people in the right places using various different tools. And this is fully interactive, as it would be just through the Power BI experience. So here we can see all of our list of projects. We've got hyperlinks through to the project, so I can open those up in there. We've got some details here. So we've got a Gantt view for the project. We've got some summary information, pulling together some of the details for risks, durations, etc. A status report that we've got for the project. So as well as that Word document that we looked at, we've also got a simple status report in Power BI to show some of that information for the health of the project. And then we've got some resource assignment information as well. Now we mentioned snapshots as well. So here we've also got a snapshot report. So for this particular mobile app, we can see all of the snapshots that we've got for this particular project. So as the project has changed over time, or as it's gone through the various different stages. So we can see here, we've got the snapshot summary at the top. So we can see this one was taken when it was at the planning stage. So we can see we've got that information. This one was at planning review. whereas these two here were taken when the project was actually updated. So we're just when we save some of that project level information. And then we can see the same for the task entity as well. So we can see that this particular task, business requirements, when the snapshot was taken at planning, we've got 100% complete there, but then over time you can drill into that data and see all of the information as it's changed. So we can just filter for whatever project we want, and we can also filter for the different snapshots we've got there. So that's the Teams integration that we're covering for the session. And now if we have a quick look at some of the Power Automate flows that we've got to support some of this capability. So first off, just taking a look at the adaptive cards. So we have a look at this one. So this one is running on a schedule. So we can see it's running every Monday. And all we're doing first off is querying the projects entity to get the overdue project. So we've got a filter on here to pull back where the projects aren't completed, so where they're less than 100% complete, and where the finish date is less than today or now when it runs. And then for each of the projects that it's got in that collection, it will then go and post the adaptive card. So we'll just use the adaptive card website to build the JSON. I haven't hand carved this. I've just built the JSON cards and then copied that in, and then just plugged in my variables from the flow. So here we can see we've got the name, we've got the date difference to show us the overdue, how overdue it is, and then we've got a link as well here to build up that clickable link to the project. And this one we've got the escalate risk to an issue. So if we take a look at that, so that's where we're in the model driven experience, and we clicked on the escalate tab and change the escalate value from a no to a yes, and that's where this flow will kick in. So if we have a look here, so we're looking at the risks and we're filtering on that escalate to issue field, so it will only trigger when that particular field is updated. And then we do a check here to check that it's equal to yes, so we do need to escalate it. And then if it is, we then create that new issue item in the issue entity. And we pass in some of the data from the risk entity or risk record that triggered the flow. So we're passing in the title of the risk, the description, the originating risk, and the related project as well. And then we also then go and update the associated risk record that triggered the flow, because we want to set that to closed. So we set it to close there, and we also set the escalated date so that we know that when that risk was escalated to the issue. So then the other flow that we had that we saw within the model driven app was the sentiment analysis. So this is a simple flow here. So whenever there's a record created in the project status updates, we then trigger the detect sentiment analysis, and that is just a standard action within Power Automate. That does the calculations, and then the value that we get back from that score, we just pass into our updated score field, and that processes as well. We've got two versions of this flow. We've got one for when the item is created and one for when the item is updated, because a user might go in and update the record, so we'd want that flow to trigger and go and recalculate the score as it's updated as well. We've got two flows to do snapshots. Now these are part of the solution that I've got for that particular app. So I've already got one open here. So this is the one at the stage. So if we have a look at the edit here, so we're hooking into the trigger for when the record is created, and we're looking at the project stage process flow, and we're setting some variables here, parsing the JSON response that we get back from the trigger. Then we go and get the record, so we're going to get the particular instance of the process flow that's running. We then get the project that it's running for. We then create the new record in the snapshot entity. So we've got a custom entity called project snapshots, and then that creates the project record. So we're then just passing in all of the data from the project that we've got in this step here. So we're capturing that, and then we do the same. We go and list all of the project tasks. So for the associated project record that we're looking at, that we're snapshotting. We're filtering the project tasks entity, pulling back all of the tasks that are associated to that particular project. And then for each task that we've got, we're then creating a copy of that task information in our custom task snapshot entity and providing the details from the task data that we've got there. So that will run through and create the snapshot. So there is another version of that, and that's for when the project is updated. So it's pretty similar, apart from it's just a slightly different trigger. So it's when the project record is updated and we don't interact with the business process flow entities at all on there. But all of that is, say, no code, so it's very simple and straightforward to configure. So as you can see there, we can easily build on top of the project for the web capabilities, just using the power of the Power Platform. Now that's the end of the demonstration. I'm just going to drop back into the slides just to wrap up. So I've got a couple of URLs on the slides now, just to help get started with either project for the web. So there's plenty of information out there around project for the web for getting started, and obviously the Common Data Service as well. And then also I've got a summary link or a blog post that covers all of the capability that we've actually covered today, with extending the project for the web capability using the model-driven experience. So it is a 12-part series that I started back in December last year. I didn't think it would get to 12 series, but there's obviously so much that you can do with a Power Platform and model-driven apps with no code. It just seemed to go on and on, but I thought 12 is probably the limit. So I kind of wrapped that up recently, actually, and finished that and posted a summary blog post today with all of the links to the relevant posts that walk you through creating that app. And certainly, hopefully, that will give you some good examples of some capabilities that you can build for project for the web using the Power Platform. So that has come to the end of the demo and everything that I wanted to cover. So we've covered quite a lot there in terms of the out-the-box experience that we've got with project for the web and roadmap, of course, as well. And also the extended capability that we've built using the model-driven experience, Microsoft Teams, Power Automate, and Power BI. So I've got my contact details up there on the screen. Please do feel free to reach out to me if you have any queries, whether it's about Project Online, Microsoft Project, Project for the Web, Roadmap, Planner, anything like that. Please do feel free to reach out if you've got any queries. I've got my Twitter handle on there as well. Please do follow me. I do regularly blog about anything related to project and supporting technologies, Power Apps, Flow, etc. But that's it. Thank you very much for attending. So I hope you found it useful.
Thanks, Paul. This was a very energizing, very interesting session, I have to say. Question to the audience, because we still have 10 minutes left. Are there any questions from the audience? If so, you can ask a question. Unmute your mic and ask a question directly to Paul, if you will, please. Thank you.
So there's a question there regarding time-phased data and baseline data in project for the web. So so out the box, there isn't any baselining capability. So that's where you would use a similar snapshot process using Power Automate or some other process to take a copy of that data, because all baselining really is a copy of certain bits of data within the project schedule. But with the power of the Power Platform, you've got that ability to copy that data and do any calculations that you need there. Time phase data, yes, there is the time phase data that you've got that is stored as JSON in one of the fields within the tasks entity. So you do have that breakdown of how many hours per day for that task. So that is in the CDS entity, and I do have a blog post on that. An example report for getting that data out on my blog, actually. So that is there.
I also have a question, Paul. Maybe I missed that piece, but is there a roadmap in regard to the merging of the previous or the predecessor project online with the new project for the web?
So they are two totally separate applications. So Project Online is obviously built within SharePoint and has been around for many years, starting with Project Server and then into Project Online. Project for the Web is a totally re-engineered application. There is the standard roadmap that Microsoft publish for Office 365, but there are no details around the sort of capabilities that they're going to build in Project for the Web that exist today in Project Online. That's not public yet. I think the idea is sort of like the 80-20 rule. Project Online is very advanced, whereas a lot of people don't need that sort of capability. Project for the Web does meet that sort of 80-20 rule, where they do meet a lot of the requirements out of the box, and certainly with the Power Platform you can build on that capability.
Yeah, thanks for the answer, Paul. I see that Thomas is still typing a question. I see a question. Can you define role-based security in Project for the Web Power App?
So the security, I wouldn't touch the security for the entities for Project for the Web, just because of how it all integrates with the Office 365 group security. Microsoft haven't released any information around what you can and can't really do in the CDS for Project for the Web, but I would avoid sort of custom roles within the CDS entities for Project for the Web for the moment.
So if I'm correct, if you need a custom security rule, actually you would have to build your own solution, or is there just not a workaround at the moment?
Yeah, there's no configuration to the security for Project for the Web. It is something that Microsoft manage within the solution. So I wouldn't change that, because you probably could break it or go into an unsupported scenario. So for now, there isn't any additional security. The only capability you've got, if you've got access to the project, you've got edit access. There is a new option available for read-only access via certain Office 365 SKUs. So that was recently made available, I think, within the last couple of months. So you can have read-only access to it. But if you're added to the team and you've got the right license, you've got full edit access to the tasks and the project security. Regarding what I showed, getting back to security roles, obviously for the risks, issues, project status updates, all of those custom entities that I've created, by all means, that can have its own security model and would need to. So that is separate, but yeah.
Yeah, I see there's another question regarding the critical path. I don't know if you've seen the question, John. Paul, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. So there's nothing on the roadmap around that, not what I've heard from Microsoft. So some of that advanced capability that you do get within like the project desktop client, with the sort of baselining and critical path, different task types, and lead and lag times, all of the advanced scheduling isn't in Project for the Web today. What the product group are recommending is that we use user voice to submit these ideas, and they'll take a view on the feedback from the community of these missing features. So anything that you think is missing from Project for the Web, we need to get visibility of that through the user voice with it for Project for the Web.
I think someone had a question. I thought I heard a second voice. Or am I mistaken? Okay, so
didn't hear any.
No response. Okay, no response. Hopefully this answers your question, Martin. Are there any more questions? Okay, if there are many more questions, I want to share my screen for a last time. For the closing slide, if you don't mind, Paul.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's go over here for 1 sec. And then I'm still getting used to the new Teams interface with the recent updates.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so thanks again, Paul, for this presentation. It was very insightful. For those who missed parts of this session, don't worry, as this will be made available through our resource channels. You can find these channels on our website. When the recording is available, I will send out the post on LinkedIn, Twitter, and other channels. Our next event will be on the 27th of August 2020 at 14 hours GMT, and we will have Michelle Wong as a speaker. Michelle will be talking about creation of 3D games with mixed reality in Power Apps. But I would leave the introduction to her. And for now, I would say thanks for being part of this session. Once again, thanks, Paul, for this amazing session. It was great having you. And I would say to our audience, until the next time, bye bye.
Thank you for having me. Take care, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.